What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So for today's horror news update, it's a pretty light one. We do have just a couple of stories that we're going to go over. One of them, not surprised to hear. I did scan through it, and one particular part of it got my attention, and I'm wondering, are we doing this again? Are we really going to do this? And it has to deal with 28 years later. We just talked about this, a day or so ago, and now we're talking about it again. More information has come out about it as far as the next one, the Bone Temple Part 2. But as I was scanning through the article, one particular line caught my attention, and I again think to myself, are we really going to be doing this again? We also have an update on Del Toro's Frankenstein. It looks like it's going to be getting a theatrical release ahead of it dropping on Netflix. So not sure if that's going to be a limited run only in certain cities, or if it's a limited run, like a wide release, but they're only going to do it for like a couple of weeks before they put it on Netflix. And then if you didn't know, today is Texas Chainsaw Massacre Day. So today is a day that in 1974, the original film, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original one, because there has been a remake in 2003. There has been various attempts. There was the one from Netflix. So we are talking about the original one. Was released in 1974. So we are going to talk about that a little bit. And I did pull up the trailer, the original UK. I think it's the original. I don't know if it's the UK trailer or just the original trailer that was used for 1974's release. But either way, we're going to take a look at the original trailer. It's only a minute 39 long. But once we watch that, we are then going to jump over and watch the 2003 remake trailer. Now, the reason I want to bring up the remake is because I loved the remake. I love the 2003 remake version, and you all know how I feel when it comes to remakes, reboots. I'm not necessarily a big fan of them, but this one in particular, while I do enjoy the 1974 version, I gotta say I tend to enjoy the remake a bit more. That doesn't mean I don't like the original version. It's just if I'm thinking I want to watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I'm reaching onto the shelf for a physical copy, I'm leaning more towards the 2003 version. So that's just me. Doesn't take anything away from the fact of the original film and what it's done for the horror genre. So let's jump into our first story of the day. And as I mentioned, that's going to be dealing with 28 years later, the Bone Temple. So as you see just from the headline here, DaCosta added more infected to Alex Garland's 28 years later, the Bone Temple script. So that's a bit interesting. And I'm wondering if more were added because either the story was lacking and they felt, hey, we need to up the intensity of this, so we need to add more infected in here, more scenes with infected, maybe attacking those who aren't, more, maybe, I don't call them action scenes, but maybe more action scenes with infected. So let's get into this. I didn't read this fully. I scanned through it, and a couple things caught my eye, which we're going to talk about. So let's get into it. DaCosta takes over as director for 28 years later, the Bone Temple. We knew that, nothing new. A sequel to Dan Boyle's 28 years later that will release in theaters on January 16, 2026. The Bone Temple is a primary location in Dan Boyle's trilogy starter, and the title of DaCosta's sequel suggests we'll returning to that location. The final minutes of 20 years later also suggest that the Bone Temple will focus on Jack O'Connell's Sir Jimmy Crystal and his merry band of evildoers, with young hero Spike, who's played by Athley Williams, also returning. This is what caught my eye, is this here. Cillian Murphy's character from 28 Days Later is also expected to make an appearance in the Bone Temple, which we know very little about at this time. One thing we do know is that Alex Garland wrote the script, and it was that script that brought DaCosta on board. So let's pause. I've talked about this, and we talked about how the announcement of Cillian Murphy, when they announced this trilogy of films, especially when they announced the first film 28 years later, and Cillian Murphy was either announced, pretty much right in parallel with that. And everyone was hyped. I was hyped. Everyone across the horror genre, community was talking about it, as was I here. And only to come to quickly find out, he's coming back, but he's really going to be more behind the scenes, right? Not really going to be in the first one. And at the time, we had even heard from Danny, and I could go back and try to find it, that Killian isn't really going to be all in the second one. And now they're mentioning here that he may make an appearance. Now, again, I feel they're getting people hyped up to come see this film because they know this film has to do. We just talked about this film, and this film has to do better than the let's say the first one of this new trilogy, which the first one only made like 150 million. This one's going to have to do better because they do not have the green light for the third film. The third film, this trilogy, has not been greenlit, has not been approved to move forward with any production whatsoever. And the last time we covered this was due to the fact that this film, Bone Temple, has to be a banger of a film for them to move forward. So making an appearance, I'm thinking that they're going to use this as the draw to say, hey, let's put Cillian Murphy in the last 5-10 minutes, make him the cliffhanger, and then that will get people interested in wanting and demanding to see the third film. That's what I think is going to happen. So by them saying he's now going to make an appearance, because initially up until this point, everything I had read and heard, he wasn't in this. He wasn't in the second film at all. They were just going to lead you to believe that, hey, his character is still around, and kind of like, we found this letter or whatever from Cillian Murphy's character, and if we continue this story into a third film, then we'll show him to you. I'm thinking they may have had to course correct here. My opinion is they're now having to include him in here to get people in the seats at the theaters to make this a success, better than the first one, so they can get that third film made, which Danny Boyle would then supposedly come back and do the third film. Nia DaCosta said at the Edinburgh International Film Festival this week, making the 28 Years Later sequel was one of the best making experiences I had. One of the issues I had with Candyman and Marvels was the lack of a really solid script, which is always going to just wreak havoc on the whole process. But Alex Garland hands you a script and you're like, this is amazing. You don't really have to change it. Although I basically asked for more infected. That was like my big contribution. Let's go down a little bit more. I inherited an amazing cast, and I was given the leeway to cast the rest of the film, DaCosta notes. There was a couple of locations I inherited. I was given leeway to develop all the other locations. Some of it overlapped, like the character Samson. Danny and I would collaborate a bit on the look, but at the end of the day, Danny shoots so different from the way I shoot. And then it just says stay tuned for the coming months. And I think we just have just an image here. And this was, this is not this image in particular, but the looking on directly, like the face of this character. Well, this was one of the first images that was released, and we all thought this was Cillian Murphy, as did I. And then we quickly found out it wasn't, and everyone had to go out there and kind of be like, oh, okay, retract. It's not Cillian. The actor is actually who portrays this individual. Came out and said, no, not Cillian. It's actually me. So all this to say is that line about Cillian Murphy caught my eye, and the fact that they're adding more, they wanted to add more infected into this film, again, makes me believe they don't have the confidence in this film that they originally probably did, based on the results of the first film in this new trilogy. So my thought is, if this is going to have to do, in my opinion, widely better, far better than the first film, 28 years later, if they're going to even have any hopes to getting the third film greenlit. If it does just slightly better, I think studio executives, those holding the purse strings, are going to be very hesitant to want to fund a third film in this. And we may never even get a third film. Who knows? So that's the latest for 28 years later, The Bone Temple. So let's move on to our next topic, which is Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein coming to theaters in October and Netflix in November. So let's jump into it. So I'll say this film, I was originally very hyped for this film. Really, really hyped. We got the teaser, and my hype level diminished. I was like, this looks kind of mid. This looks okay. But then the more we've gotten about this, the still images, the additional information, my hype levels has started to increase back up again. I am hoping we do get another trailer soon. Maybe actually a far longer trailer than the one we originally got, and show us a lot more scenes. Because again, I was really looking forward to this one, and I still kind of am. Again, the hype level for me is starting to creep back up, but I still definitely need to see a lot more of this before we get to that release date. So let's get into this. Netflix has finally announced the release plan for Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, and the good news is that the film will be coming to the big screen in addition to streaming on Netflix. The bad news, well, it looks like the theatrical release will be quite limited. Frankenstein first comes to select theaters October 17th. The streamer has announced this morning with Netflix premiere to follow on November 7th. That's a very, very short window. No word yet on how many theaters Frankenstein will be released in, so stay tuned. This next here is just a quote we've probably read more than almost a dozen times. It feels like every time we cover this quote is included. It's just about how important this is, inspiration for it, blah blah blah. Again, nothing new. And then those who star in it, again, and then we have. I do like this poster here though. I am digging this poster, and I love the font that they used for this as well. Do we have another? So we do have another poster down here as well. So we have both. Frankenstein and the monster. I'm again really digging this one. Maybe if it's a little bit darker, but understanding the environment that they're trying to show with the snow and everything, why they'd probably make it so bright. But this one, again, if it was just a little bit darker, but that's just my preference. For something like this, I'd want it like a little bit more dark, a little more gothic, if that's the best way to put it, aesthetics to it. So either way, though, I think they're nice looking posters. But yeah, that's the latest for that's the latest for the Frankenstein film. It's select theaters. We don't know how many we're going to be getting in theater. We don't know how many theaters because it just says it's going to be a limited run. So I think they'd be best to do, if they're only going to do it for that short window, just do a wide release. Don't do it in just Los Angeles, New York, and one other city. Just say, hey, you want to see Frankenstein on the big screen? We are going to do a full wide release for 2-3 weeks, and then we're pulling it. Then you can watch it on Netflix. I think you will get a ton of people going to see this film, because this could be a film that's going to be best viewed on the big screen versus streaming it at home. So, and if you're going to do it for that limited time, I mean, what do you got? What do you got to lose, right? So, all right, so let's move to our last story, which is what I mentioned earlier. Tobe, so it's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre returns to theaters tonight with a bloody, disgusting surprise. So this is actually today. So, I mean, unless I didn't know about this coming back to theaters for today only, I'm sure it's not playing anywhere where I'm at. So if you happen to have known about this happening beforehand, and who knows, maybe you're watching it now or you're going to watch it later tonight. So the Texas Chainsaw Massacre took place on this day in 1973, and you can celebrate by seeing the film in theaters for the Texas Chainsaw Day. So yeah, it says 73, but the trailer I pulled up said 1974. That's interesting, because that's what I was saying earlier, 1974. The 4K restoration horror masterpiece returns to the big screen for one night only, accompanied by an exclusive sneak peek of the upcoming documentary Chain Reactions from Dark Sky Films and Fathom Events. Be sure to show up early as Bloody Disgusting produce a brief visual essay about the original film and locations that will play before the movie. Let's see here. Was added to the Library of Congress, National Film Registry, and recognizes movies that are of cultural, historical, and aesthetic importance, which preserves the nation's film heritage. And then just the brief synopsis, who starred in it, who directed it, and then we have the trailer here. I don't think this is the same trailer we're going to be looking at, because I think this one was more of a modern cut version. I was trying to find one as original to what was released then as possible. Is this a poster? So yeah, it is a poster here, but it was just done for this particular event, not an original poster, because I've never seen this one before. And then this one here, which is a classic image of Leatherface in the street with the chainsaw. I mean, I think we all know what that image looks like, and that is it. All right, so what we're going to do before we close this one out, we're going to pull up the trailer for the original film, and then we'll come back, just a few comments, and then we'll jump into the trailer for the remake from 2003. So let's make sure that the sound is set. All right, so let's jump into that first trailer for the original film and, bring back some memories.
What happened was true. The most bizarre and brutal series of crimes in America.
Stop! Stop!
This is the movie that is just as real, just as close,
Crazy! You gotta make us stop!
just as terrifying as being there. Even if one of them survives, what will be left? The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. After you stop screaming, you'll start talking about it.
So I find it funny how times have changed, right? I mean, I remember movie trailers all the way up until even the early 2000s, maybe even through the 2000s, up until the 2010s. These talkovers that used to be done for trailers versus listening to the dialogue of the film kind of tell the story of what was going to happen or to give you an idea what was going to be happening. Yeah, times have sure changed because, again, I remember trailers being exactly like this. You would see just cut scenes of the trailer, and then there would be this movie phone individual talkover that would try to give you a description of what was going to happen in the movie. Very little dialogue was ever really shared in trailers for the longest time. And even with a trailer like this for a film from the early 70s, I mean, it's definitely like anything else. It's a product of its time. So when you look at this and compare it to films nowadays, how things were filmed then versus how they are filmed now, it really gives you an idea of how far things have come when it comes to movies, not just horror movies, but movies in general. So, all right, so we're gonna jump over now to the 2003 movie trailer. Now, I don't know if this is the theatrical trailer that was shown ahead of movies, or if this was just the one that was shown on TV. But either way, I want to just take a look at that one because we did get a remake out of this, and it's my favorite. So let's jump over to that and give it a watch.
Tell me how much you love me.
How much?
That much?
This much.
That much.
Hey, are you okay?
They're all dead. He's a bad man. I'm gonna have to call the cops, I guess.
Excuse me.
What the hell was that?
What?
I just saw something.
All right, that's it. If somebody's out there, just come on out!
What is that? The hitchhiker. What were they all doing here?
What the hell are you doing in my house?
You're all gonna die.
Who's killing who?
What's wrong with you people?
Oh, my.
Like I said, by far my favorite remake when it comes to stuff like this. And as I've said before, I'm not a big fan of remakes, reboots, but this one though I do enjoy. And you know, I find it interesting, even in the original film and in this one, you know, based on a true story, inspired by a true story. If you didn't know, if I remember correctly, this is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You know, whole character and everything was based off Ed Gein. That's how you pronounce it. Who was known to have, like human skulls and things like that, as like cereal bowls and things like that, right? And he had used human skin to make lamps and whatnot. And there's supposed to be, we haven't heard an update on that. Monsters season 3 is supposed to be based on Ed Gein, with Charlie Hunnam playing the character. So it's been a minute since we've heard or seen anything on that. It's been a while. I think the only thing we've ever gotten is just some brief behind the scenes, like production type images, nothing official. So I am interested in hearing and seeing more on that, because I'm definitely interested in just that TV series in general, but knowing that Ed Gein's going to be the focal point for that next season, hopefully we'll get something before the year ends. So anyways, that's going to do it for this horror news update. The latest for 28 years later, the Bone Temple, Del Toro's Frankenstein, and just recognizing today the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original and the remake. So drop a comment in the comment section, and if you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, we'll see you at the next one. Later.